rule changes and stuff like that.
Straight
Typical stuff I've seen.
Point of emphasis last, 6 weeks?
Yeah, pretty much, maybe less.
You straight on a take foul now?
Yeah, I'm straight now. I don't really get into too many of those situations. So, yeah, it's no different. Rules change every single year. I've been in the league 16 years now, and we get 2 new rule changes a year. It's crazy.
And it's refereed the same way at the end of the year every year.
For sure, for sure. I just want to play basketball, so it's all cool.
Does it help at all with that to kind of form any kind of see referees in a different way or have them see you in a different way?
For me, I understand that refs aren't perfect. Like we all aren't perfect individuals. So they're gonna miss something, we're gonna miss something, we're gonna feel a certain way, they're gonna feel a certain way. So I think the biggest thing is just all about really just respect for the game, respect for each other, and then just if it happens, being able to like communicate and talk things through.
Hey, Thad, it's been years in your career. You probably don't need a lot of preseason minutes, but are you getting enough to get your game to where it's got to be for opening night?
Yeah, for what I do, it's just playing basketball, just using smarts and intelligence, and just going out there and just doing what I do. I'm not a guy that needs to go out there and score 20 points a game. I'm not a guy that needs to go out there and grab 10 or 15 rebounds a game or anything like that. I'm, a piece that can go out there and be an intangible guy that can kind of piece everything together, be a kind of like the synergy for the team a little bit. Making sure that everything's kind of flowing and moving when I get out there. We have really great chemistry, and just making sure like all those things are working in our favor. So it doesn't really matter.
Nick said you're a calming influence when you're on the floor. Is that what you feel your key role is?
Yeah.
A little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always been that way for the simple fact of like that's how I've kind of played my whole career. Just always trying to like stay, not too high, not too low, but kind of like a median point where, I'm playing in between guys because, everybody obviously wants to score the basketball. And I'm one of those guys that necessarily doesn't really care about scoring, but I really care more about like making winning plays and how we're going to actually get better shots within the offense. And defensively, just making sure that we're all in our spots where we have great chemistry, where we can get the steal, get in transition, and we don't even have to run plays. We can, get a layup and then get back on defense.
At this point in camp, do you have a feel for what that reserve rotation is going to look like?
I like to try to get into the first 10 games of the season, and then that kind of gives you a feel for like what you're going to be doing, what your role is. Like I kind of know it, just from how I played last year, and then how we're kind of like mixing and matching the pieces. Like today, I played, center position. I went from the center to the 3. Like I went from the 3 to the 1. So, I like the fact that you can play all over the court as long as you know the plays and you know how to initiate offense and you know how to get us into something. Like anybody can play whatever position.
You spent a lot of time with Chris and Precious in particular last year, and that's sort of a trio that Nick has talked about, liking your chemistry. What is it about that group, the 3 of you, that works?
I think the best thing about us 3 as a group is we come in and we play at a high level. We play with lots of energy. But we're all different players, right? So Precious is more, he can, he'll be able to be more athletic and put the ball on the floor and do a lot of different things. Chris is the energy guy, right? So he's going to crash the glass, get offensive rebounds. He's going to, be able to knock down threes and stuff like that. And then I'm kind of like that piece that can, kind of just bring everything together. So the transporter out of the group. So, a guy who's going to, do all the dirty work, but, also get us, keep us calm and keep us in flow action, flow movement, and just making sure that the ball's going to the right places.
Where do you envision Otto fitting into that?
Otto's another flow guy.
Yeah.
He's a great piece to have because one, he can shoot I was about to cuss, but he can shoot the SHIT out of the basketball. But he can really shoot the basketball. He can stand behind the three-point line, and then he's a really good defender as far as like he's not the quickest guy, but he's always in position to get deflections, get steals, and he's always in the right spot. So just having guys with the smarts and intelligence to be in the right spot is always a huge factor for us.
You mentioned playing center. In this stage of your career, you've set a lot of screens, especially in Chicago. In particular, when you run pick and roll with Pascal, what are you looking to do to sort of maximize his ability when he's running that?
Basically, just get his guy to get into a trail position, so he can turn the corner, because we know Pascal is really good at turning corners and really good at getting downhill and getting to, his either getting to, if he's going left, getting to the spin, back to the right, or if he's going right, just getting all the way downhill and getting his shot up, his float up, or just stopping and pulling up and getting a wide open jumper. So, just really just trying to get him to be able to turn the corner. Not necessarily get me the ball, but turn the corner and then make sure when he does turn the corner, I get whatever guy that's guarding me now on my back, so I can, in case the shot comes off, I can get an offensive rebound.
And that works really well in switch over under. When they, in ice over under. When they switch though, how do you make sure he's able to turn the corner?
Like I said, just holding the screens. Sometimes I'm able to screen two guys, just holding the screens. But if they do get it, we do get a switch and the center's on him, then I just back out, get into the dunker, or I'll back out and get to the three-point line just to kind of space the court. Or like if I'm in the slot, just cutting through, giving him a guy kind of like attack off. So those type of things help us, not just with Pascal, but with everybody in the offense.
Thad, the other day, Fred was talking about how he's really looking to peak towards the end of the season and the playoffs this year. Last year, obviously, was more just a push to get in the playoffs. What's your advice to guys who are trying to peak towards the end of the season, not just body-wise, but also mentality?
Just keeping your composure, making sure that you're staying healthy, but also just making sure that the things that we're doing is leading towards that point. Like right now, obviously, like we're practicing, we're going through certain things, and just taking bits and pieces each and every day and just kind of moving forward. But I think we're going to be well enough and healthy enough and play well enough to be in a playoff position early. So just making sure that when we do get down the stretch to where we have to execute, that we're executing and learning and winning games at the same time, and then just making sure that everybody's on one accord. Like the last 20 games of the season, the last 10 games of the season can be huge for any team, because those last few spots you don't want to be in the play-in. You want to be in the actual playoff itself, and you want to be able to just have a couple days of rest and then get right into it.
I want to ask you about Precious. So much has been made of his improvement throughout the season last year. You weren't with him from the start, but even going back from when you got here in February, how different does he look today than he did?
He's understanding the game much more than he was in the past, I think. And I think that's what just everybody just helping him in general. So like me, Fred, Pascal. Now we have Otto. We have guys that that's actually like teaching him how to actually play basketball. Think about it. Guys are now coming 1 year removed, obviously from college, but they also, if you didn't go to a college where they had a chance to kind of teach you a lot of different stuff, then you have to learn those things when you get to the league. Because the league and college is two different things. And don't get me wrong, Memphis was a great place for him to go because he got to learn from one of the best to do it, Penny Hardaway. You know what I'm saying? So, but you can learn so much in a short period of time, but sometimes you need more time to actually learn and get over the curve. And I don't think he had that much time with Penny because he was only there for a year. So, one of those things is you don't get into your focus and who you are until sometimes your second or third year in the league. And I think now he's coming into his own.
When it comes to the defense, a lot of it has been about improving the decisions everybody makes. And you came in late last year, but your reads of the floor were really good. The route efficiency, how much of improving is kind of leaning on your expertise to kind of impart that wisdom on the rest of the guys?
I think a lot, just from a simple standpoint of that's one of the things I've done for a majority of my career is play defense, and just just being in the right place. One of my vets back in the day, Aaron McKee, used to always just tell me, do my work early. So if you do your work early, you don't have to, play catch up. And I think that's what like I'm trying to put in those guys to do their work early, where they don't have to play catch up. They're not trailing behind the ball. They're not, coming in late, for a straight up on a guy going into the basket, or having to trail a play and try to come from behind to get, a steal or something like that. Always being in your position and always making sure that you leave your mark earlier than later.
Can I ask you a question about the board? I know it's new, but
Yeah.
how have you found it as a teaching tool? And
Well, like, I think the board is really good for us for the standpoint of we all want to become better shooters, right? So, and becoming better shooters and having, no analytics and having, the stuff that the same technology that companies like Shoot 360 and stuff like that uses, it's huge for us. It's a little gamified sometimes, but it makes everything fun because you can see on the boards where, we're always in competition and stuff like that. There's always some type of competition. There's always something that's going on, but you're getting real life analytics and stats, real time data that's helping you as a player get better each and every day.
Turkey on the weekend?
No, it kind of threw me off. I'm not used to Canadian Thanksgiving yet. I didn't know until the day before, but I got to get used to it now. Yeah.
You get 2 of them. You get one on the road and you get one.
Yeah, that's a good thing. You get 2 Thanksgivings. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm gonna make it count for sure.
How's the meeting? You guys learn anything interesting?
Yeah, of course. Learn, how to work the angles. I wish there's a way they could tell us how to make the refs give us more fouls, but that's not working.
I saw you out there with Monty,
Yeah.
the guy who's in charge of it all. Is that how beneficial is that?
I mean-
talk to the guy that's talking to the refs.
It's just like I said, it's educational. So that way you learn the rules and what you're talking about when you're talking to the refs. If something happens, you're not just talking from a standpoint of, just emotion. You actually know what it should be. So it's good to talk to someone like that that's done it for so long. He's in charge. He's the one telling them essentially what to, call and all that kind of stuff. And it's you learn from him. He's telling them the same thing, and then you can hold him accountable based on what he tells them.
Do you feel like there are some guys, some officials that you can approach easier than others that would be more willing to listen? They know your personality as a player.
Yes.
Are you learning their personalities as officials?
Of course, yeah. There's a few officials, I'm not going to say names, but that I feel comfortable talking to, that I could approach, talk to, and yeah.
Precious, you made a lot of progress, I guess, between year 1 and year 2. How much different did the game and the league seem to you in your second season after a year of experience under your belt?
I'm in my third.
I know, but I'm presuming you're going to make another leap in your third year.
Every year.
I'm being very optimistic, but I'm saying when you look back at the contrast between your first and second year, obviously you're on a different team, etc. But just the newness of being in the NBA, how that helped you?
For me, I didn't really start playing basketball until later, unlike a lot of other kids. But I just say, just the pace of the game, especially at this level. Just really getting used to the pace of the game, seeing things differently. It's kind of like the same way when I first got to college. First couple months was kind of then eventually, the pace of the game I got acclimated to the pace of the game, and that's how I feel right now. First year, earlier, second year, and then, later on the second year, and then of course right now it's just, I see the game a lot more differently now. So, yeah.
Thank you.
There's been a lot of freedom attached to how you've progressed. You're allowed to do more things on the floor. With that freedom, you've succeeded. But among that, is there something you like running the most, like the grab and go stuff or the isolations in the half court?
The grab and go has always been a part of my game. If you go watch high school, middle school, college, that's how I've always played, grab and go, play fast. I like to play fast in transition, play open court, get wide open dunks. It's exciting. I like that. So that's kind of like been my game. But being in an organization that, the coaching staff, my teammates are encouraging me to do that because it's easy offense. I get the ball, 1-2 dribble, I'm on the other side of the floor. Pass or stuff like that. Just the more you do stuff like that, the better you get at it. Especially at this level. So, but yeah, I get the rebound, 1-2 dribble. I could hit somebody up ahead for a wide open layup with my speed, and getting up the court.
Nick had you in there the other night against Chicago a little bit later than the rest of the regular rotation guys, and they were running a lot of offense through you. How helpful are those reps in terms of your offensive development?
It's good. Just being able to. It was a rough night for me, but it was good just being able to it's preseason, being out there. I love to play basketball, so I didn't mind being out there. It's good being able to, get those reps in. Like I said, just the more you play basketball, the better you become at it. So I have no problem being out there playing.
Precious, everyone goes into the offseason and they say they focus on everything and want to grow their all-around game, but is there any particular areas of your game that you really want to stress, whether it's the face-up game we've seen a lot of in preseason, or the shooting? Is there anything you really focus on this offseason?
Yeah.
Can you tell us?
Make every shot that I would take. Everybody goes into the off season, working on basically every part of the game. But for me, it was just more like the pace of the game. Understanding concept. Body movements. If he goes here, he's most likely going to do this. If I have the ball in my hand, then see the court a lot better. Being able to make plays and see the cutter, being able to hit the cutting player, all that kind of stuff, or attacking the defender based on who's defending me or who's guarding me. So it's just little stuff like that.
Was there a lot of film involved?
Oh yeah, I watched a lot of film. I still do. I've always watched a lot of film, but yeah. So just watching film is always good. You watch film of yourself, film of other players as well. So.
You don't always play center on the floor, but when you do and when you run pick and roll with Pascal, what are you trying to emphasize in that partnership to make sure you guys get a good run?
With Pascal, is the way we play is all about mismatch. If I'm running a pick and roll with Pascal, most of the time is because whoever is guarding me is a mismatch with him, and he has an advantage. So trying to create that mismatch where he could attack, but yeah.
And you got a lot of threes last year out of that. When you run that pick and roll with him, are you thinking you're going to get an open jumper out of this?
Yeah, because he's such a threat attacking the basket. He draws a lot of attention, so I understand that that's essentially going to give me a wide open shot.
What are your the back end of the roster, kind of like your bubble guys? What are you doing evaluating those guys? I'm sure there's more to it than just the games. There's practices. You talk about you guys voting, and
yeah.
Is that still changing and still fluid?
Yeah, we haven't done it for a little bit here, but probably evaluating roster fit the most now as it gets down there. What is it that we need the most on the roster? That's somebody that could help us. That's probably what the biggest thing is right now.
How much is potential injury or anything like that?
Well, it's a little tough to do that. It's injury's one thing, right? But some of that's just that's all a guessing game a little bit, but it factors in a little. Yeah, for sure.
Skewing offensively or defensively more than?
I think I don't want to speak for everybody, the assistants in the front office right now, but probably offensively right now for me.
Nick, you had Precious in there a little bit longer than the regular rotation guys the other night. You got a chance to run some of the offense through him in scenarios that maybe you wouldn't normally. What was that part of the thinking, and what did you see from him in those situations?
Yeah, again, I think was in the moment the other night part of the thinking to get him some more reps and opportunities for sure. And again, I'm just trying to see different areas where we can get guys the basketball, and you know, there's a lot. It's a lot of moving pieces. Like he's in there, who's in there. Gary's not. Gary has his moments where we go to his but who's on the floor when he's doing that? When can we go to OG? Who's on the floor when he's doing it? So I think it's a working through process for a number of different reasons. The other night was Precious's night, and again, I think it's gonna be a real key to our offensive production this year is where are we going when certain lineups are on the floor, and what does it look like?
For the most part, he looked a lot more comfortable in those scenarios where he's catching the ball on the block and making reads.
Yeah.
Compared to where he was certainly at this time a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that difference in him in terms of comfort level?
Yeah, I think he's getting himself a little bit more composed. You know, I think you said it, comfortable. And just a little bit more of, you know, he starts fast and blows by, gets in a certain zone, and when the traffic gets heavy, he seems to be getting himself to a slower pace or a tempo where he can make a better decision and maybe make a stronger shot, if that makes sense.
Does that
make sense? Yeah.
Does that just come from reps and experience?
I think so. I think it comes from him working on it and just understanding that he, you know, that's what he needs to do to have more success. I mean, for me, he's got such a he's got size and he's got strength, right? Advantage is that he got to make sure and use those. He's not trying to always make the speed skill move, right? Sometimes it's a power move, right? And the power move sometimes requires you to slow down, gather yourself, and go from there.
What have you thought of Scotty through 4 games? I know it doesn't matter all that much, but maybe some of the things he has been working on haven't quite shown.
Yeah, listen, Scotty's playing a little bit of catch up here, and it's noticeable. You know, I don't think he's shown a whole lot here in the preseason. I mean, he was held out the last 3 weeks leading into training camp, and so that affected his conditioning. It was a light ankle issue, but they held him out for all that, and so now I think he's just behind just a little bit, conditioning wise, feel wise, all that kind of stuff. So that's it. He just we need to keep plugging away and get him feeling so he can, you know, feel like he can be out there playing really hard. I always say that's his key. Where is his energy and enthusiasm and all that stuff going to remain at the same level it did a year ago as the new kid in the candy store, right? And if it does, then he doesn't have much to worry about, right?
Are you concerned that that's something he'll have to bear down on? Like, has there been signs that he's maybe not been as focused as normal?
Nope. I'm just trying to answer the questions that you say, what does Scotty got to do to go to this next level and all this kind of stuff, and I'm just trying to get him to bring that energy, competitive enthusiasm that he'll do, that he has, right? Because if he does, I mean, his skills and his shooting and all that stuff and the moves and learning when to play power ball and when to make skill moves and all that stuff will just get better, right? He's worked on a lot of stuff. He's going to play more game reps, all those kind of things.
Pascal hasn't run a lot of pick and rolls. I mean, it's just preseason. But when he does, he gets the switch. He's moved guys back in preseason, like 15, 20 feet under the rim.
As the handler or the setter?
As the handler.
Yeah.
How good an answer is that to the switch, that Pascal can just go to the post up and get at the rim?
It's a pretty good answer. I mean, it's going to be an answer, and until they double that, right? And then you got to make the next answer. So I think definitely we've got to take advantage of some of our size, right? Say, oh, well, we don't have a center per se, you know, in the starting lineup, but we usually do have a size matchup somewhere along the line at the wing. So I think us getting it into that position is important. These guys are going to have to score. You know, the Pascal, OG, Scotty's, Precious, Thad, you know, there's 5 guys, I'm probably skipping somebody, right, that can go in there and post it. And then when they do, they're going to probably have to play through some traffic and make the right read out. So it is important because I think we can draw 2 defenders.
And in preseason, if teams, because I have noticed you guys have run a fair number or ended up in a fair number of post-ups, and teams aren't typically going to be doubling your post-ups in a preseason game. Is that kind of gum things up a little bit for you?
Well, I don't think anybody's doing a whole lot of game planning on anything, right, in the preseason. They're not. I mean, you're so worried about what your guys are comprehending that you want them to see if they can go out there and do the stuff you're doing. We've seen some, though, right? We've seen some of of those guys getting doubled. And sometimes it just happens. It isn't on the game plan. It just kind of guy handles a couple of dribbles and everybody ends up gravitating to him. It ends up into a double team or a triple team sometimes as well. But we'll certainly see it, I think. I mean, you know how it goes. They're going to probably play you honest till they think they can't stop it. And as soon as they say, well, geez, we can't guard that, let's double it then, you know, or whatever. And then you got to keep making your adjustments as the chess match on the fly continues to play out, right?
Do you see you having a committed kind of second unit, like of more than 3 or 4 guys, or would you go have a full 5 guys that you might rely on a little bit, or?
Gosh, no. I mean, I think that you have those thoughts, Michael, again, but it seems like every Monday you show up, something happens to totally disrupt those thoughts, right? You know, this week it's, you know, Otto's one week, Chris is the next, Malachi. I mean, there's a whole fleet of guys now that are already out. I think we were missing on over 5 guys today at practice because of injury. Nothing serious, but stuff that's keeping guys out. So I think I will not think about that much until Thursday, and I see who's on the roster ready to go and start thinking about who's starting and who comes off the bench and how some things. And then you start pushing your pencil around and moving things around and looking at it a little bit for sure. And then, like I tell you guys, then those plans usually get crumpled up with a couple early fouls at the wrong position early in the game as well. So it's just part of the job, I think, Michael, of trying to read it as you go and do the best, you know, make the best gut decisions you can make with who's coming off the bench, how long they're playing, all those kind of things.
What was your takeaway from the refs annual? Here some rule alterations and.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit of stuff this year, more than normal, right? You know, normally it's, you know, they're gonna watch screening and traveling and, you know, those kind of things. Every year that seems to make the thing, and then but there's the take foul this year, obviously you guys know about, which is fairly tricky, you know, more intricate maybe than the obvious one where the guy just goes up and grabs a guy in transition. There's lots of other little things there. There's some respect for the game, sideline decorum that you guys probably know is also in, which all looks really, both those things look really, you know, good decisions and reasonable as well there. Those are probably the 2 biggest ones. I mean, they're still doing some, you know, offensive fouls on the leg kickouts and shooting the ball and jumping way out of your your lane there and trying to draw a defensive foul.
In general, what can you do for it, like a take foul now? What can you?
Well, it's fairly simple, right? But getting used to doing it, like anything's like you're coming to the floor and I just come out and put 2 hands, you know, I'm going to stop you. As soon as you put 2 hands on, that's a take foul. Like you're making no attempt at the play. You're trying to stop a fast break, and they want you to make a play on the ball. So instead of me putting both my hands on Josh as he's going to go to lay it in, you know, as he's dribbling away, I gotta make a legitimate swipe at trying to get the ball, and then I'll probably do that fairly physically to Josh, right?
With me, you're probably better off letting me get the fast break.
Sure, Josh would flop, do a few somersaults, sell it.
I've learned from Kyle.
The respect for the game sideline antics. We saw Boston got a warning the week you were there. Did you guys get one later on?
It seems to me we got one, yeah. We got one right at the start, you know, and basically it's our guys learning it, right? So what they don't want, you're allowed certainly to stand up and applaud your teammates or cheer them on, but they don't want prolonged standing. And I think we got one right away because, you know, the guys are in the habit of at the jump ball, the guys are standing up and they stay standing up for a little while, but well, you can't do that. That's prolonged, right? You can be up certainly at the jump, but you got to go sit back down, right? You certainly can't be on the court. There was a number of clips they showed of guys literally on the court, and you know, and the play was live. Certainly can't do things from behind, you know, even though you're not on the court, but you're, you know, the guy's shooting a corner 3 and 3 guys are, you know, waving by his head and, you know, whipping towels and, you know, all that stuff's gone. Again, just makes sense. It was just going too far, and they certainly had a bunch of instances last year, and I think that'll be pretty easy. Again, it's you know, very similar to the, you know, you guys watch FIBA games, right? They're constantly like telling the benches to sit down as they're coming up the floor if they need to.
Did they talk about coaches as well? Coaches on the floor? Coaches getting out of their coaching box or coming on the floor to call timeouts, for instance? Like, did that get into
That
today?
did not today.
Okay. I'm
It's a good one.
Nick,
I agree with you.
I have a question about last season. Guys had a lot of offensive freedom, whether it's
Yep.
rip and go or taking shots that necessarily weren't in the spectrum that you in the past have. Like, you've talked about how a lot of it was about the long-term developmental outlook, right? I'm wondering this season, are you thinking about cracking down maybe like the hammer a little bit more, just because you guys have talked about having higher goals for this season, right? And so I'm wondering, like, is that hammer going to be there a little bit more this season?
Well, I think that we're really trying to find our way right now offensively. And as you guys know, I'm a pretty big fan of just kind of letting them try to figure out what's going on in the preseason, right? I'm trying to I probably the other night called like I hadn't called hardly any sets in the first few. I called a bunch in the other game. I'm again trying to get organized and we're really working hard on getting it more to probably what it's going to be like when it's for real. But I do like to see what they can do and what they can figure out as a unit out there, right? Kind of there's a lot of times in a game when play breaks down. Right, a set play breaks down, it doesn't work, whatever. Now what are we going to do? Like, you have to be good at that, and I try to get as much of that in as I can because I just don't like to have too robotic, right? I don't like to have it, as you know, I'm on the other end of that spectrum. Yeah, I mean, listen, we've got to crack down on executing better, spacing better. I've been pretty disappointed with the way we've run the floor this preseason, right? We're just not enough energy and not a lot of probably critical thinking to the right spaces, just kind of running to be running and not fast enough. I usually don't mind if you're going to do whatever you do as long as you do it all out. Usually that covers up for a lot of things, but we need to run the floor better, harder, with much better spacing so there is some organization if nothing comes quick. All right.
Regarding the starting lineup, if you look at the stats, and you don't have to like the stats, but it struggled defensively last year. That doesn't mean it has to struggle in the future, but how often are you looking at the preseason tape, looking at what's happening in practice, and weighing that against the track record?
Well, I think that the starting lineup is always a really hot topic, right? Here and with you guys and everywhere, right? So we are like, I just think that those guys have played their way into that spot. I think they're probably clearly the 5 best players, right? Doesn't mean that you always have to start your 5 best, and doesn't mean that something else might be better for us, and it may be, right? I think the continual battle of who we're playing, like do we really want, Scotty, Pascal, or OG guarding a really good big 5 to start the game? I don't think we probably do, right? So we're going to have to make some adjustments to that, or it's just going to be a 3 minutes, and we're sending in a guy. But I would think that the token start is if that's not really the way we should match up, wouldn't be that big a deal to fix. It seems to be. Like, again, we talk about it every single one of these press conferences. I'm here, right? And the players obviously make a big deal out of it as well. It's a battle, uphill battle for me that continues to rage on. Yeah, you're 10. You guys good? All right, thanks everybody.